Hello, everyone. I welcome you all to this session on Accelerate Your S4HANA Move and Journey. I am Ram Mohan Gobili, Senior Vice President and Chief Solution Architect at SuneraTech. As you all know, many businesses that run their critical operations on SAP are in a big dilemma. According to a recent survey conducted by America's SAP Users Group, 56% of SAP customers have plans to move to SAP S4HANA, but when it comes to actual execution, they are not so sure. Complex custom SAP installations will require huge code corrections, which increases costs and timelines. A line of business owners will insist their critical operations cannot allow any disruption, and end users may not be ready for potential changes to their processes. As the financial engine that runs your business operations, SAP is intricately tied to your digital transformation strategy. The theme of this session is to provide insights into the capabilities of SAP S4HANA in driving digital transformation and innovation. What are the tools and accelerators to be leveraged for mitigating the risks and reducing the total cost of ownership? Let us begin the session and understand from the experts about whys and hows of moving to SAP S4HANA. Let us start with Matthew Donovan, Director of SAP S4HANA Business and Market Development. He started his journey at SAP 7 years ago, supported SAP's largest global Fortune 5 customers. His main focus is on high growth space and create a framework to support net new customer acquisition and enable field team on new go-to-market assets.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew Donovan. I am part of SAP's Solution Management Organization, responsible for our business and market development around S4HANA in North America.
Hello, Matt. Welcome to the session. As one of the senior leaders at SAP, would you please educate us on how SAP S4HANA will help in driving business transformation and innovation?
So when we think about how SAP and S4HANA will help in driving business transformation with our customers, one of the things that we like to do is kind of think more broadly about what is our vision for business transformation and what are we looking to achieve. And one of the things that we've really noticed at SAP is that a lot of our customers and a lot of the prospects that we work with are currently really focused on running the business. So most of their time is spent on operations. And so what we're trying to do with S4 is to provide a level of automation and to provide a level of efficiency so that these businesses can focus on more value-added activities. And we do that in a couple different steps. So when we think about how we're delivering a level of automation, one of the things that we really want to take a step back and do is make it much easier to consume the innovations and the software that we deliver as part of S4. And we do that starting with the user experience. People expect a much more modern way to interact and get information. And we're doing that with our Fiori user experience. Now, once we've made the interface easier to use, users can really focus on how they're going to drive value. And one of the ways that we do that is by embedding what we call in-process analytics. And in-process analytics helps people have the information that they need at the time of need. So analytics is no longer an afterthought. It's something that's actually embedded in the underlying process. Now, once you have that real-time insight, that's where we kind of move the needle and we take it even further with S4. So once you have that baseline, we can actually start to automate these manual or repetitive tasks with our robotic process automation. And the benefit of this is it really cuts down on the operations side of the house. So you can focus much more on the value-added operations. And if we take it to the next step, this is where we like to embed what we call advanced analytics into S4. And the goal of this is to really support the strategy. We don't want to be focused on operations. We want to be focused on how do we actually steer the organization? How do we navigate through these times? And we do that with artificial intelligence and machine learning to make sure that the customers that we support can start to map out what is the best case that can happen to our business. And machine learning is kind of an evolution. So what we have is we have something called situation handling for our customers to start off small. They'll proactively get alerted to what are the things that are important to me. How should I prioritize my day? Not only that, but they'll get recommendations on what is the best course of action. What is it that we should do in this moment to support this business process? And then they can actually model out scenarios of what is the best outcome that we can drive. So when we take a step back and we look at what is our vision with S4, what are we trying to do both for our existing customers and for new ERP customers? We're really trying to focus on taking the day-to-day operations and automating them so that the end customer can focus on how do we drive the business forward and how do we adapt during these times.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. Yeah, it helps to understand the capabilities of SAP S/4HANA and how it can help us in innovation. Now let's move to the next question. Tell us about SAP's MOVE program and how it will benefit customers and partners.
So one of the areas that we're really focused on is helping our existing customer base make the move to S4. And one of the things that we've started to realize is that every customer's journey to S4 is different. And so one of the things that we want to do is provide a structure to support each of our customers' unique needs around the move to S4. And so what we've done is we put together a customer journey. And the goal of the customer journey is to really help our customers navigate the process and what it takes to move to S4. And one of the things that we really wanted to take a step back and do is really sit down with the customers and focus on the why. Why are you looking to move? What are your objectives? Even before we start looking at S4, how can SAP be a trusted advisor and help support your objectives? Now, when we think about that, what that really comes down to is aligning on the vision and strategy. And what we see is that some customers, where they are on their vision and strategy journey is different. So some of our customers are very focused on how do we improve the as is. So a lot of times when we meet with executives or different business leaders, they're very focused on a pragmatic view of the organization, especially in the climate that we're in now. How do you focus on the current challenges and getting through the day-to-day? But what we're starting to see a shift as businesses adapt and start to recover is to look more forward-looking, look at the to-be. So how do we look across the company? And SAP is really good at bringing different stakeholders together to understand how the business can grow as a result of this innovation. And then the other benefit that we have is we have a broad view of what's going on in the industry. We have a comprehensive view across the industry, and we've made major investments to ensure that our solutions are tailored to each specific industry that we support. And the last component of that is some of our customers are really looking at how do we take this moment to leapfrog our competitors? So how do we be really thought-provoking and really model forward what could the transformation be and what could the future look like with the help of SAP? Now, once we understand the vision and strategy, the second step of our MOVE program is how do you build the case? We really want to make sure that we're aligning the objectives of the customer with the outcomes that can be received by making an investment in S4. And the focus here is where and how are we going to see a return on our investment? What is the value? What needles are we going to really move by making this move to S4? And then how do we plan the path forward? So how do we look at the different solutions that are available, the different industry capabilities that are available to map out what your future state is and how to actually get there? So what deployment option is the best for you? What implementation option is the best for you? And really provide a tailored point of view of how you'll get to S4. And then at the end of the day, the last step of the MOVE journey is to deliver the business value. We are really focused on making sure that value is realized with this move. What are the best practices to ensure success? What enablement and tools and methodology does SAP provide to ensure that you are successful on this journey? So what we do look at this is the vision to value journey. How do you go from a vision and objectives to actually realizing the value? And that is what our MOVE program stands for.
Great inputs, Matthew. And yeah, we now understand how this program helps the customers and partners. Let's move to the next question. What are the tools and accelerators SAP is providing to reduce the total cost of ownership for customer?
So a lot of our customers are looking for, how do we actually go through the MOVE program? And what are the ways that we enable our customers as they go on this journey? And so if we look across those 4 categories that I talked about, SAP has made significant investments in the tools and resources and support in combination with our partners to ensure that you have the information that you need. And one of the things that we've done is tried to make it more focused on, again, the why, and make it more engaging. So if we look at aligning on the vision and strategy, SAP has resources that really change the interaction and make it a little bit more fun. So when we think about aligning on vision and strategy, SAP has 2 really wonderful resources to do that. So the first one is ERP Sim. I don't know about you, but I grew up playing simulation games, and it's such a fun way to experience different things. And so what we provide at SAP is an actual S/4HANA simulation game, so you can understand and get a day in the life of what is it like to interact with an S/4 system, and how do you gamify that? So you actually compete with different teams to see who can be more profitable. And then the other component is a modern day ERP Monopoly game. It's called our virtual S/4HANA board game. And with that, we help you go through the journey around the board and see what is the difference in our current state with ERP compared to our future state with S/4. And then when we move to the business case, we provide a variety of resources to support building out the why. So we have a business scenario that helps you understand, how are we consuming ERP today, and how do we model that business process moving forward? And then we also have resources to help you build out your business case, build out your value lifecycle, and then understand, by using our tools like the readiness check and using the tools that SuneraTech has put together, to build out why. What is the value? How would we move? How does this come together? And then when we think about making the path forward, SAP and our partners really provide a point of view that's prescriptive to help ensure that you have the right resources and the right solution to meet your needs. So some customers, that's a new implementation where they start fresh, and some customers, that's a system conversion where they leverage the investments they've made in ERP to date. And we have the flexibility to support our customers across the public cloud, the private cloud, as well as on-premise. And the last part of that is, how do we make sure that we accelerate your journey to realize value? I mean, that's what kind of starts this whole process. And so we've got great tools with our migration cockpit, and we also provide best practices and model company framework that help give you a jump start on how should a business process be structured. What is the best way for us to go through this? And how do we start to fit to standard instead of customizing processes? It helps our companies scale, and it helps them consume innovation quicker that way. And then we also have great resources with our partners, with our customer care organization, as well as our regional implementation group, to give you the resources to succeed in your project. Make sure that your go live is as successful as it can be. So that's just a subset of some of the tools that we have to accelerate your move to S4, but understand that SAP and our partners are making significant investments every step of the way to make sure we're tailoring your customer journey. Thank you very much.
Great. SAP is providing so many tools, that can be successfully leveraged for migrating to SAP S/4HANA. Thank you. Ari Terjanian is a senior research analyst at Cleveland Research Company. Ari has 7+ years of experience covering the cloud and software industry. Cleveland Research Institute was founded in 2006 and provides independent fundamental research on US equities for the world's largest money managers. Clients include Fortune 100 companies like Allianz and Fidelity, etc. Cleveland Research also follow multiple industry segments. Ari's goal is to provide best market intelligence for buyers and sellers on enterprise technology. Hello, Ari. Welcome to the session. As a research associate at Cleveland Research Company, you follow the market trends closely. you also follow ERP and cloud vendors than anyone else. Can you please tell us the market and customer pulse on SAP investments?
Sure. Thank you, Ram, and thank you, Rahil, Jay, and the entire SuneraTech team for inviting me to speak here today. Good morning or good afternoon to all the participants that are attending the SuneraTech Digital Acceleration Summit. Hope everybody and their families are staying safe and healthy, and really glad you can invest some time here to listen to our outlook for SAP investments and where customers are prioritizing their focus. Today, I'm going to walk through two big items. SAP's updated outlook and business strategy through 2025 under the new leadership of Christian Klein. And second, we're going to touch on the key trends and themes we're seeing in our macro and tech research that are impacting IT investments into 2021. Just a little bit about myself. I'm a senior analyst at Cleveland Research Company. I cover the tech sector and the leading software and cloud vendors. Cleveland Research is an independent research firm doing research for institutional investors, as well as Fortune 500 companies around advisory and strategic consulting. Going through this presentation today, a few key takeaways I want to leave you with. First, SAP is at a turning point. They are under new leadership of Christian Klein and paves the way for significant change over the next couple of years. First, we would expect less pressure and more focus on customer success. Second, we are expecting an accelerated shift of contracts and business models to cloud and as-a-service models. Third, SAP is returning their investment focus to their roots of the core ERP, platform, and verticalization. And last, while the macro environment is expected to remain uncertain through 2021, we have seen that IT investments have continued in pockets of verticals and solution areas. So starting on the SAP strategy update. Earlier this week, SAP management team hosted a conference call laying out several strategic initiatives and updates for the business through 2025. These are expected to have significant impact on client investments in SAP, as well as SAP's approach to customers. The key takeaways from their outlook call include that they're forecasting their cloud revenues to double as a percent of the business over the next 5 years. Second, they have a more conservative growth outlook near term. Third, perpetual license and on-prem support revenues are expected to decline. Fourth, the company is going to increase its focus on customer success. And last, integration of assets, platform as a service, and vertical cloud is the key areas of focus for the company going forward. So first on cloud. 2020 SAP cloud is going to finish about 30% of revenues, about 8 billion euros. They laid out a forecast to more than double that over the next 5 years. Now, I'm sure many of you on the call are thinking, there's no way I'm going to move my SAP estate to cloud, or no way I would adopt software as a service for my ERP system. A few things to note here. When SAP is talking about cloud, they're not just talking about multi-tenant software as a service. They are also referring to their new private cloud edition that they've launched. And essentially any software or solution that they sell that's monetized as a service. We see a future where customers increasingly procure and consume SAP as a service, including things like single tenant edition. To date, SAP's cloud business has primarily been driven by net new workloads and implementations for S/4HANA Cloud, as well as various line of business applications that they've acquired. We would expect SAP to offer incentives to their customer base to migrate to a ratable subscription term. Additionally, we would expect continued partnerships with hyperscale providers, as well as hardware and OEM providers, simplifying procurement and deployment models delivered as a service. Looking at revenue growth, after growing revenues 6 to 10% the last 5 years, SAP is forecasting the business to be more flat in the next couple of years. We view this as a good sign for customers. Under Christian Klein, we believe SAP is going to be more focused on product execution and customer success, as opposed to hitting sales targets under the Bill McDermott regime. Additionally, we're seeing some macro impacts on investments, primarily larger digital transformation projects around S4, as well as the lack of business travel impacting Concur. This is offset by a lot of smaller projects being broken up into smaller pieces, more platform as a service, custom app development, cloud migrations, and we'll talk about that more. As the shift to cloud is accelerating, on-prem licenses and support are forecast to decline. This is going to result in more client investments that are OpEx as opposed to CapEx. This doesn't mean on-prem is going away completely. At the end of 2025, 30% of customer spend will still be on-prem for SAP. However, we would expect the majority of spend to be as a service. SAP's management team is now being compensated based on the Net Promoter Score. Additionally, sales leadership and field reps are being compensated on go lives and consumption as opposed to license sales. This should help SAP and its ecosystem help customers deploy undeployed licenses, and it should also result in future projects being presented more as outcome-based and ROI-centric. Last, from a product roadmap perspective, SAP is focused on integrating their disparate assets. Again, Christian Klein has a much more technical background, working in the CTO department for more than a decade prior to taking over as CEO. SAP has already completed the tech convergence of their platform, with most of their cloud assets on the HANA database and in a public cloud environment. The next step is at the user interface level, where SAP is expected to create one semantic data model. In addition to integration, SAP is going back to their roots, where they focused on creating highly verticalized solutions that fit specific business processes for different industries. SAP is calling these industry clouds, and we expect these packages to roll out in the next couple of years. And then last, on platform, similarly, where SAP has been strong in platform in the prior decades, if you think about R3 and building extensions with ABAP and Basis, they're hearkening back to that with the SAP Cloud Platform and Business Tech Platform.
Thanks, Hari. What road the customers are taking nowadays, considering the cost pressure and the pandemic situation?
I'll now wrap with some recent themes that we're seeing on a high level from our research. First, IT spend has been hit this year, but it's not as bad as expected. We're seeing continued investments around platform as a service, cloud, and remote work enablement. And we're seeing a greater focus on solutions with quicker time to value that are self-funding. The election and COVID-19 are expected to provide macro uncertainty. However, we still see pockets of growth. Here's a chart just walking through the different categories and how spend has performed this year. Overall, we've still seen strength in cloud, software as a service. A lot of drivers here. First, we're seeing good investments around cloud migration, cost takeout type projects, e-commerce, delivery, track and trace, crisis communications, and automation. This is offsetting slowing in areas like application deployment and AMS. While on a macro level, things are looking a little bit challenged, we're still seeing strength in different verticals. This chart illustrates this different areas of spend we're seeing. Public sector, education, financial services, tech, and healthcare, as well as pockets of retail have been strong. Trends are more mixed in other verticals, while travel and leisure still remains depressed. From a COVID perspective, COVID is increasingly seen as an endemic, not a pandemic. A vaccine is on the way, but remote work and leisure trends are expected to continue into 2021. The following shows a survey that we commissioned of 1,000 consumers, and things such as working from home, visiting restaurants, visiting stores are expected to continue to be at depressed levels, even if a vaccine is created. We've seen a lot of variance across GDP and country impact, and we're also seeing continued cases spiking depending on which country you're in, as well as which state or school you're in. The election is up in the air, and there could be different impacts on the market depending on who wins. And from a macro perspective, while macro uncertainty is going to continue into 2021, we expect remote work, learning, and leisure to be a sustained trend, and IT spend as an imperative and not something that can be avoided. With that, I thank you for your time today and wish everybody a great holiday season headed into the end of the year.
Thank you so much. That's really helpful. Now, let's talk to Andrew Steen, Strategy Lead, North American Channels. Andrew Steen is a Senior Director of North American Sales Channels for SAP. With over 25 years of experience, both on-prem and SaaS models, Andrew has extensive experience in sales, marketing, and operations with the industry giants such as Microsoft and SAP, as well as some startups. He has signed industry lighthouse deals, managed multi-million-dollar marketing budgets, and managed sales operations for a software business in excess of $800 million in revenue.
Hi, my name is Andrew Steen. I'm a Senior Director of North American Channel Strategy here at SAP.
Hello, Andrew. Welcome to the session. As North America's strategy lead, would you please tell us what role do SAP partners play with mid-market customers?
Partners in the mid-market are SAP experts, and because they understand SAP solutions as well as the industries in which our customers operate, they're in a great position to help customers in the mid-market utilize industry best practices and get the most out of SAP solutions. So it's very difficult for any one company to know everything about their industry, and the SAP partners can really help broaden that expertise because they work with so many of our customers, dozens, hundreds of customers oftentimes.
Thank you. That's really helpful for all the SAP partners. How are mid-market customers working differently with SAP partners today than they were a year ago?
We're actually seeing a lot of the same behaviors. We're just seeing those behaviors ramp up. So on the sales and consultation side, partners have always done a lot of remote work with our partners, but what we're seeing now is that the sales efforts have become much more remote out of necessity. And so scoping exercises are being carried out entirely remotely. So for example, virtual plant tours, which is pretty interesting. On the implementation side, what we're starting to see is a lot more fixed scope, fixed cost projects. So customers are looking for more certainty with their projects in the current environment, and that includes greater adoption of best practices in many cases, which helps to reduce the risk. So none of this is actually new. We're just seeing a lot more of this kind of effort, and the people and businesses are adapting.
Great. Now we understand the difference of expectation. How are SAP partners like SuneraTech helping customers achieve greater innovation?
SAP partners like SuneraTech have dozens or hundreds of customers that they've worked with. And so while SAP builds the platform, it's the partners that bring their industry and solution expertise to help customers unlock the value of SAP specific to their environment. So a relationship with a company like SuneraTech becomes critical as a result, and customers should really be leaning heavily on the experience of their partners now more than ever.
Thank you. That's really helpful. Are you expecting more customers moving to S/4HANA and cloud? If so, why?
We're seeing our customer trends line up with what the industry analysts have been predicting, that approximately 60% of ERP customers will be in the cloud versus on-prem over the next few years. And year over year, we're seeing exponential growth. There's a couple of reasons for that, but one big reason is that the IT infrastructure associated with ERP becomes an operating expense versus a capital expense, which is very attractive for companies of all sizes, but particularly in the mid-market. It also helps those customers reduce the complexities of their IT environment, so while improving their overall performance. So there's a lot of advantages to the cloud environment for customers, and most of our customers have already migrated to the cloud in some capacity, or they have a hybrid cloud on-prem approach.
Okay, got it. What is the role partners with mid-market customers going forward?
Yeah, the role of partners will remain largely unchanged, but we'll see partners playing an even bigger role. So partners like SuneraTech are shifting their focus from IT infrastructure management to adding value. That value is coming from advising customers on how best to transform their business based on the industry and solution expertise that they've gathered over the hundreds and thousands of implementations that they've done. So we're really excited to have partners like SuneraTech working alongside of SAP to help us solve solve those customer challenges and make the customers successful both now and in the future.
Thanks, Andrew. What are the latest technology trends and how SAP addresses current challenges and future opportunities with experience management capability?
So if you think about the pace of innovation over the last 15 years, it's been accelerating. You take something like the new generation of workers. They're coming to the business having grown up with smartphones and super easy to use applications. So the work environment that they're used to or that they're expecting needs to adapt to their expectations. So the user experience becomes incredibly important, and the new version of ERP will allow for that. Another area is artificial intelligence. If you think about cash receipts, customers are not always paying in the exact amount that we expect. So in the past, some companies have used a person to find these anomalies, which can be a very boring and tedious task. But now we can train a bot to do that job so that people can focus on much higher value tasks.
Thank you. That's very insightful. Now let's talk to Rahil Ortiza, Program Head at SuneraTech. He is responsible for overseeing major SAP transformation projects and assist clients in developing product and solution roadmaps. Over the last 40 years, Rahul has held technical product development, sales and marketing positions at global companies, mainly in the manufacturing industry sector. He has worked in the SAP space for more than 20 years in project and program execution. He has held leadership positions in numerous global implementations of SAP, both R/3 and SAP S/4HANA. Hello, Rahul. Welcome to the session. As SuneraTech's program head for SAP, you have executed multiple complex SAP projects successfully. Recently, you have upgraded the SAP landscape for a mid-size engineered materials company to the latest version of S/4HANA by leveraging SuneraTech's remote upgrade methodology, which is unique in every way because of the current pandemic. In this context, can you please tell us what were the objectives of the upgrade project?
The objectives of the upgrade for Sunera were to completely review the simplification item catalog and perform all the necessary remediations, execute SPAU and SPDD, and remediate all the objects. And doing this all in the client's dual landscape, as the client was continuing their current development in their transformation project. While the upgrade was going on, Sunera had to help maintain the changes in a dual landscape. So that added another bit of complexity to the upgrade project. In addition to upgrading S4, the client also wanted to move from standalone Fiori to embedded Fiori for their applications. And as a third objective, the client requested Sunera to upgrade all their test scripts to what they would call gold standard. They wanted to have their test scripts reusable and in a high level of quality using their HPALM tool. So Sunera helped with the upgrade, did all the technical activities, and the client was involved in the testing.
Thank you. What were the risks? How you have mitigated them using tools and accelerators?
First risk was that the client's schedule was very tight. There was only 4 months from the kickoff of the project until the go live date. So there was a very tight schedule to maintain for this upgrade. Now, Sunera, using its S4 Express tool, was able to quickly evaluate the scope and the requirements to execute that upgrade. And in the first couple of weeks, Sunera, with the client's team, was able to develop a very detailed project plan that was maintained in a cloud environment, a tool called Smartsheet. So no matter where the resources were located, they could easily access the project plan and be able to stick to the timeline. Because of the remote requirements, the client and Sunera set up daily workstream teleconferences, weekly project team meetings, and monthly project sponsor meetings. All these were done using Microsoft Teams so that we could have video, audio, collaborative meetings. And those were very good in reducing risk because there was ample communication between all parties. One of the results of doing that type of communication and collaboration was the team got very close to the client's resources. Everyone felt like they were on a single team. Very good working relationship. Another risk we ran into, because it's a major upgrade, skipping from 16, we skipped 17 and 18 and going up to 1909, was ensuring that we stayed within the client's budget. So there was a close monitoring of the requirements and ensuring that there wasn't any change in scope, any scope creep. In the weekly and monthly meetings, we always kept an eye on the scope and advised the client when some of their requirements seemed to go beyond just the technical upgrade, and had to keep the client focused on their primary objectives of migrating the system to 1909. That was adhered to. We delivered the project in budget. So that was a good benefit to the client. The other risk was the ability to maintain good collaboration of the resources with, we had the Sunera resources in India, myself in the US. The client had resources in the US and Canada and Germany. So just the time differential was a risk. But through the daily workstream meetings, using instant messaging, video chats, Microsoft Teams, and ensuring that we had very efficient and timely communications when any issue came up, we were able to make that work with a 100% remote model, 100% within the scope that was expected by the client. It was delivered on schedule. We went live on the initially planned date. There were no delays in go live. And the work result was seen in that the hypercare was minimal. Within the first week, a couple of dozen minor issues all resolved fairly immediately. So we delivered an upgrade as it was expected with no issues. On top of that, during the testing period, Sunera delivered over 200 gold standard test scripts that not only were written, but were executed as part of integration testing for the client. And they now have that available for their future projects. And because of the relationships that were developed, the execution, the client and Sunera now have an ongoing excellent relationship, and the client is looking for other projects where Sunera can assist them in moving forward with their transformation.
What are the upgrade best practices you would recommend to others who are planning to upgrade their system?
The risks were addressed in a timely fashion and mitigated within the scope of the deliverables. The tools that were used, Sunera's S4 Express, using the project plan in the cloud via Smartsheet, communications with Microsoft Teams and HPLM, the client's testing tool to do all the testing recording. All that contributed to an acceleration of the work and reduced risks in the timeline. And one thing that really contributed was to follow the best practices of SAP as they were brought to the client by Sunera, and stay focused on best practices, not to let the client move to their own expected practices. So not to reinvent the wheel, stay to standard best practices. And
thank you, Rahul. That's very helpful. I sincerely thank all the speakers for their valuable inputs and guidance. I will try to quickly summarize the outcome of this session. We have learned how SAP S/4HANA will help in driving business transformation and innovation. What are the different paths to digital transformation, both greenfield and brownfield? What role SAP partners like SuneraTech play in mid-market and how they help customers achieve greater innovation. And we have also discussed what is the market and customer pulse on SAP investments and cloud. We can expect more and more SAP customers moving to cloud in the near future. And finally, we have learned how projects can be successfully delivered remotely and how to mitigate the risks of remote workforce. We have also learned how next generation accelerators like S4 Express and Cloud Tester can reduce the total cost of ownership. I take this opportunity to inform you that SuneraTech is offering free assessment with S4 Express at no cost to all SAP North America customers in November and December 2020. It is a 2 to 3 days of investment from SuneraTech for each assessment, which runs on a factory model. Thank you. Wish you all a happy journey to SAP S/4HANA.